Well, hello, Lena. How long has it been? All summer,
It's been a
close to
few
it?
months, I think, Andre.
Yeah, so little has happened since then. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
totally placid. There's no news to report.
Another day in paradise.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so crazy. Like every day there's a new bomb or so, this today with the more stuff on the Epstein, the whole thing with that letter that they were saying. Remember
Oh, the
JD?
letter is a doozy, isn't it? Oh my God. I
Yeah,
thought we'd exhausted the Epstein thing on some level.
no,
No.
no, the Epstein, the more I look at it, I mean, I don't think it's enough to sink this guy.
No.
But the way this thing surfaced in July on the Era station, he's host because by now it should have moved to the background, but instead it's gained traction, and they thought,
Yes, because weirdly, MAGA's hyper invested in a way that you and I and other people probably weren't. We thought, oh, dreadful guy, but where's the surprise in wealthy playboys behaving badly? We underread it in a way. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. We didn't know they would have such a strong reaction. We thought,
Mm,
I thought, when they're saying, look, they released stuff that's already known. They could have done that again, and they could have, but then they became really definite about saying, nope, there's nothing to see here. And I think that's what really set them off. Probably.
yes, and that's the moment, hopefully, in MAGA eyes, where they became the swamp.
Yeah.
They didn't have the same guidelines we did, but maybe it's important from that angle that finally people are beginning to realize. Oh,
Yeah.
strange, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's strange. And again, I don't see it as a presidency terminating factor,
No.
but it's creating a lot of problems on the voting level because there's a definite drop in his support because of this, because there are people in the MAGA movement that are really unhappy, including, and most worryingly for him, the people that are in media that are attacking. I was surprised, totally different topic, but I don't know if you heard Megyn Kelly, who is,
No.
she's pretty support. Megyn Kelly is a Fox News,
Yes, I know. Yeah.
and then, so she said, now this is a separate topic, but she was saying, no, there's no way he should go into Chicago. That's completely against the Constitution.
Ugh.
He should be asking for permission from Pritzker. So you're seeing all these cracks in the
Yes.
support. But yeah, the Epstein thing, based on the astrology, good luck. Good luck with that one
Mm,
because no, very unlikely to go away.
yes.
Yeah.
And tell me more about the Megyn Kelly resistance to because it's now happened, hasn't it? It's early morning for me. I think they did move into Chicago.
Well, I think the way they're doing it is they're doing ICE for immigration, and that's also what the Supreme Court gave him a green light on.
Yeah.
Continue doing, but that's the immigration part. He's trying to turn it into a crime fighting thing.
Yes.
That's a bigger reach, and he's really going through, breaking through barriers there, and that I haven't seen yet. That would be more alarming. In DC, he has a lot more power to implement directly, to do something where he's okay, go in that, even now they're picking up garbage, but that's a separate story, right? Instead of doing
Yes.
crime fighting. But the idea that you'd go into cities for that purpose is likely to meet resistance from the Supreme Court. You know, I
Yes.
hope, I would hope.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
know.
yeah, because I mean, I think this that they'll give them rope in immigration. I think, and in a way, they pretty much have to. That's what he says it's his mandate and so forth. But it's limited to that. And the main thing
Mm.
is though is that Megyn Kelly, that's not a good person to have out there
To
speaking
have
against.
against you in that
No,
sense. That's
no.
right.
No, because then others will pick up on it and you'll start to see the message. And you probably saw Joe Rogan, he's changing his tune. He's starting to
Yeah.
complain. This is not good. This is not good because these people, by the way, in case anyone is wondering here, Joe Rogan is a knucklehead. Okay, so let's be really clear about
Oh,
that. This is not a
yes.
smart guy. So don't assume that I'm in some way, validating Joe Rogan. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. He now seems to be thinking that a lot of what Trump is doing is not a good idea. Okay, so talk
Mm.
because 7 million or whatever it is that follow you, some of them are going to say, maybe this is true.
Oh, yeah, their role is really important. Like them or hate them, even more important if we don't like them. It's cracks in the facade,
Correct.
it's the ice melting in the glass of support. Instead of it being a glacier, now there's these divisions appearing on different issues, which is
Correct.
fabulous, actually.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, correct. I mean, what have you been noticing from your, because I know in Australia that they presented approximately the way, well, it must be different, obviously, because different countries.
Yeah, we actually get quite good coverage in a general sense, because we've got our spectrum of media too.
Mhm.
But even our conservative media is outraged by a lot of the Trumpisms. They've given up trying to just be middle of the road about it. But it's at the end of the day, the old Bush thing, it's the economy stupid,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what I think is going to bring it undone. And from the point of view of the rest of the world, it is so disruptive that, and I've never seen anything like this before, these major realignments are happening in world trade to
Mhm.
bypass the US.
Yeah. Yeah.
Normally, even, Trump 1.0, everyone was trying to hunker down and wait it out and stuff. And this time, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this goes to one of Trump's, big failings in his personality that he can't grasp this because you notice he's got in his chart, he's the 11th house is where you form a group. And so the notion that he got this big following, he's like a mobster, a mob boss. He gets
Mm.
the uneducated. You need people that are not well informed and so on. So he understands the power of group alliances, but he doesn't understand that that works on the country level. The US's power is
Yes.
mostly because of that. If you if you throw everyone overboard, where are your alliances? How do you stand up to So now he's reduced to saying, "Oh, look, President Xi is meeting with and and Putin. They're meeting, and thank you for conspiring against the U.S." Well, you facilitated this, you idiot.
You
I mean, honestly,
insisted on it, Pet.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So he
You-
can't. He's not putting two and two together. I mean, he should know this. He knows what alliances do. The whole idea is get friends on your side, but he doesn't think that that the Western countries are
Yeah, well, I think it's not so much, I don't think he understands allies really. I think rather than get friends on your side, it's like make your lot scared of me and they'll support me.
right.
And that's the fatal strategy, I think. I'm
Yeah,
also, what I am surprised about is Vance, if he was smarter, wouldn't, he'd just be in the shadow with the international stuff. So he could repair it if he needed to. Right?
correct.
But he didn't. He's insisted on wading in himself. The Chinese peasants comment, China will remember that for 500 years. Right, just I can tell you right now, that's not going to fade with the change. Right. And then saying to the UK and describing it as a random little country that hasn't fought a war in 40 years or something, when 500 British soldiers died just in Afghanistan. And
It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
it's this overreach. And Vance has been, and that first meeting with Zelensky where Vance waded in. So he's poisoning his own well,
Hmm.
as I
Hmm.
see it down the track. So if Trump should not make it through the week, Vance steps in, whatever. It wasn't the brightest move in the world because he has no allies now.
True, very true. Yeah, that's. I mean, there are a lot of heedless people. This this guy is surrounded by replicas of
Yeah.
himself with that with less even less media savvy. this Hegseth. I mean, he comes from Fox News, but he keeps stepping on his own message. He's creating bad press for himself. It's going to return. That's another person with lots of planetary pressure going into the later months and into next year. And he's got all these people in the cabinet facing tremendous pressure next year, including, by the way, RFK. That's another relationship that is doomed to fail because of the pressures, that are coming up.
Yes, because Trump loves you while you're getting publicity, good or bad. And then there's a tipping point.
Mm.
Too much bad publicity. Gone. So I think RFK is
Yeah,
on borrowed time,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he'll be replaced by another inadequate because that's the nature of the beast. Just won't have a famous surname.
It's true. Well, and there you might, the only explanation I can give, if it's an explanation at all, is that if you go to the meta level, why is this happening? The world is in a topsy-turvy situation right now. And for the US, I don't see a way back unless people clearly see how, in fact, by the way, I saw a poll today that now more than 50 something percent, they want institutions again. They're now pulling away from the idea that we should have an outsider. Have an outsider take over.
Yeah.
Don't have people that know how to do the job, right? And that's
Yes.
what will
And
happen.
this has been part of the problem forever with the Dems and Labor, our Dem equivalent here. We're really bad at describing why we need immigration. It's a bell curve, aging population. We need immigration if we want to retire on a decent income. Hello, we're bad at that, and we're also bad at it. I think Australia has a better idea, possibly, than America, of what governments actually do. So while everyone can roll their eyes about bureaucrats, you actually need that long-term bipartisan knowledge of any institution for it to function at its best. Right? And so by just shoving these people in on top of these departments, it's taken this long for people to go, oh, the government actually is my health service that I've just lost down the road, and I now have to drive 400 miles to get some health care. They're beginning to realize.
Yeah, yeah, and if there's something, an outbreak, some kind of problem with the food, or something where you implicate their way of dealing with it, even worse, because then people realize, oh, that's what the government does. They're sending inspectors so they can inspect meat or whatever it is so that it won't be
Yes,
poisoned and it'll kill me. And I would not be, if I'm the president with people like this around me, I would be really nervous.
yes, but he's not just come and lick my boots. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't care about any of these functions
yeah,
because he never understood it even before he got into politics. Banks were only there to extend him vast amounts of money.
yeah,
That was
exactly,
their only function.
exactly.
Like so,
Yeah,
so despite being president twice, he has no idea what a government is.
yeah. No, 100%, 100%. And it's to the
And
tragic.
you can't blame him because Congress have said, oh, we're supposed to be an arm of government, but we'll just do whatever you like. So why should he think any differently?
It's true. It's true. And you can see the faded, the quality of how the country is pulled into this black hole. By the way, when they first were elected, a lot of these senators and Congress people were very scared because Musk, who at the time was an ally, strong ally, was
Yeah.
saying, if you go against Trump in any way, I will spend as much money and I'll
Yes,
primary you, I'll get rid of you.
outrageous.
Right. But now Musk is part of the time attacking him, part of the time defending him. You don't even know where he is. And so now you
Yeah.
have Cassidy and these people that let RFK in who were rightfully concerned because they're doctors. So they were saying, what are you talking about with vaccines? Now they're now they're saying they're trying to challenge him. It's too late. Now he's in there. And so uh, maybe there'll be more resistance, but I don't see this working itself out until we have more and more problems. I just don't see it because it's like you're
Yes,
waiting for the
exactly.
disaster to happen.
And I think sad but true, I think, is it has to be felt economically
Yes.
for people to wake up. It's the economy that's going to bring him down and the whole house of cards more than anything else because
Mhm.
uh, people are so literal in the sense if it doesn't impact me, it doesn't matter. And if it hurts someone else, that's even better.
Mhm.
Uh, so until it's a collective horror that you can't escape, so oh, my brother-in-law's lost his job and my wife just lost her job and my sister's now and until it literally wedges them in.
So I have
It's
a question for you. What have you intuited about the tariffs? Because you probably heard that a lower court, although it's pretty high, it's I think one of the Court of Appeals, they deemed them illegal, but now they're going to the Supreme Court. What's your sense of what the Supreme Court will do with that as it reaches?
Oh, I think the Supreme Court will dodge a bullet and they'll kick it back to Congress, right? So, oh, it says here in our documents only Congress can decide tariffs, right?
Yeah, but that would be a denial. If they did that,
And
I don't.
I'm just giving you my thing on it. They'll hide and cover their own asses by kicking it back to Congress, are then too intimidated to do anything. They'll rubber stamp it. So I
I,
don't think the
okay, but I
Supreme
don't
Court's
think
going to stand up.
right. But there's a problem with that. I'm not sure if this is true. I
Oh, there's
have
a
to
lot of
research it a little.
problems with that.
No, no, I'll tell you what it is. I'm not sure if this is true, but I don't think Congress can pass it without blowing up the filibuster because this is
Exactly.
not a reconciliation thing. So if they try to pass it, the Democrats will stand in the way. And so Congress will be stuck. It will not come out of Congress in the
I
current
think it's a
environment.
different sort of timeline in a way because the shutdown's imminent.
Well, that's
The
another one.
Supreme
Yeah.
Court stuff is going to take, I think, longer,
Hmm.
right? Just to get there and then to make a decision, as if they think about things, right? Like, and then they'll make a decision. They're going to draw it out because the tariffs stay in place as long as their decision doesn't come down, right?
Doesn't come down. Yeah.
They're not going to be responsible for taking the floor out from under Trump, in my
Well,
view.
and the
So
thing
they'll
about
kick it back to Congress and hide behind that. And Congress will go, oh God, now what?
yeah, I mean, the thing with that is that he does have this pretty supportive angle in November. It could go that way. It's possible. But here's the thing: if the Supreme Court were to deny him the tariffs, they would actually be helping him because if they let them keep the tariffs,
I
he's
get
gonna
it.
destroy.
I get
I mean,
what you're
think about
saying.
that, right? Think
I
about that.
know.
That
I think you're
it,
right.
yeah. So
Absolutely. But it's not how he would see it. And given that he's a Project 2025 puppet, because he doesn't understand fundamental economics, it's all about me, it's all about me, they're into chaos. So it becomes then how much sway people around Trump have with the Supreme Court in terms of their goal to them. And I think that's a really interesting hypothesis. But here's the problem with that. And this is where they've, painted themselves into a corner here. It's almost impossible now to dismantle the tariffs because they are and aren't there. You can't actually get your hand and touch the exact percentage that is, that France is paying for this or India is paying for that because it's been so ridiculous. A. B is that decision would mean money gathered would have to be reimbursed.
Yeah,
Can
but
you
that's
imagine what that would be like? I'm just saying on the ground, the actual logistics, let alone the optics, hate that word, you know. And so the money wouldn't be reimbursed. God knows where it is, too. Where is the money being held? And I doubt it's the Fed Treasury. So it's like the madness and the badness has got so far into chaos that I find it hard to even conceive how they'd unwind it. Right?
yeah. I mean, by the strict rule, they would have to pay it back, and the U.S. still has enough money. I mean, it would be billions, but relative to trillion-dollar budgets, you just have to pay it
But
back.
when
But
was the last time Trump paid anybody back?
well, I
Right?
mean, he
It
doesn't.
goes against his essence,
Sure.
and we are talking about a sole despot at the top of the food chain. I don't think he'd allow them to reimburse. That's so embarrassing for him, you know. Oh, we've just sent 1.2 billion back to China on Tuesday. No, they're not going to do that. So then all of that would have to go to the International Court of Trade.
Mm.
And that's going to take 2 years. And so, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
saying?
mean, no, for sure, for sure. But I'm just curious as to which way they're going to go because I don't know that they can. I mean, there's an election next year. Can the Supreme Court stall for a year? That seems,
Not
I don't
for
know,
a year,
maybe.
but they'd be able to stall, I'm sure. Look, we're already motoring through September. They could stall to February, March, you
Well,
know.
the aspects are worse then for him. And I mean, like,
Oh, yeah. See,
significantly
this is
worse.
my private
Worse.
fantasy, Andre. Let me share it. No, it has to go ahead. In all its horror, we are looking, as I predicted nearly a year ago, stagflation. If Trump got
Mm,
in, I predicted stagflation, inflation plus mass unemployment,
hmm
which is coming to pass. So it's like the wheels are in motion and it's really hard to stop the freight train, right?
hmm Yeah, yeah.
So you've still got people saying, oh, well, you know, because this is his new line, it might be a year or two till you see the real benefits. And and you go, now they're parroting that, you know.
It's a hard message, though. I mean, the way people are in, you would say in all countries, but certainly in the US, you go into an election talking about success a year later, and that's not going to work.
No,
The
it's so
people
not
that,
going to work. So
no,
then he's cornered, and we know what his last option is, of course, to not have elect. So
yeah.
my best case scenario is the tariffs have to stay in, the pain has to be felt. Pain at some point converts to anger, which hopefully would be peaking around that time. So even if he tries to stop the midterms, and God knows he'll try, there's enough momentum, not just from Dems, but from outraged Americans who are hurting, to
hmm
go, how dare he do this on top of making my life hell? You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
emotion that is required
hmm
to actually make the elections happen, then a blue wave, then take it from there, or at least a working majority.
Right, right.
Can,
And
can I
that's,
ask you, Andre, in astrological terms, do you think there'll be a government shutdown this time around?
you mean in the fall period
Yeah, the
here?
next one. Yeah.
I hadn't even pondered that
Eh,
one. Uh, it's not one that I put my mind on at all.
Okay, don't
Uh,
worry. I don't want to put you on the
but
spot.
no, no, but well, the other one is more important. I don't see how the elections don't happen in next year. I think they're going to happen, and I think he's going to lose. Because you
Yeah.
can't, if you look at things through the astrology filter, it's a really powerful filter. It tells you, it trumps, no pun intended, any ideas of, well, yeah, he's got hard planets, but he can just, uh, you know, declare martial law and end the elections. Well, the reason he won't be able to do that is because of the
Mm.
planets. That's the whole point, right? So
Yeah, that's good news.
that's how that
And
that goes. But
also, what he's doing now with these invasions of US cities,
mhm,
flooding the zone and so, it's actually not looking good, and it's
no,
not actually flying, even in MAGA land, really, because they're seeing them picking up the garbage, the trash can stuff. This is not a princely image.
no, no, and that goes to this thing that I've said to people repeatedly. The current situation here and elsewhere, but probably here more than anywhere else, at least a little more, is that everybody has a cell phone. They did this thing yesterday at the
Yes,
US
you
Open.
can't get away.
You can't get away. So they were trying to, even the U.S. Tennis Association prohibited, the network, or they told the networks, do not show Trump being booed. They were trying to contain the
Yeah.
damage. But then cell phones caught it, and it made its way to papers in Europe everywhere. The whole planet knows that he was being booed
Yeah.
mercilessly. So
Yeah, we
same
saw
thing,
it on every channel, including mainstream.
exactly. So, like in North Korea, they'll just kill you and your family if you film,
Yes, exactly.
Here, they're all wandering around DC taking pictures of everything. And so everyone finds out, including the MAGA people, look at these people picking garbage. So that's the point, is the very thing that this guy manipulates constantly is now turning on him. It's like a beast. The
Yes,
media that way is
that's
a
the
problem.
feel I get overall. So with these illegal occupations of cities, what's always worked for Trump is flood the zone and people get desensitized. So it's now happening in reverse. If he moves into 6 cities and stuff between now and March next year, it's going to not, the fear of that is not going to keep people away from voting next year. I think people will be so outraged and angry.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it has turned a corner that's really important.
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
can only bluff for so long.
And 100%. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'll admit, I would be more worried if I saw something that could help him to
Yes.
somehow escape by. No, there's nothing but problem. By the way, all of this assumes that this person can't even get there. These are serious
Oh,
health.
yes, there's all
These
of
are
that.
serious health hits. They're not a joke. I know these angles very well. I do charts all the time, and you see them when people keel over. It's very dangerous. And the older you are, and the more you see something
Yes,
that tells you, the more you think, this is
it's an
looking
exponential risk. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Um, but I just had a thought then, if I could recapture it as you were talking about that. It's um the time. I think people absorb things in their own time, in their own way. I think
Mhm.
what we've all got to hope for is a simultaneous rash of issues, which I'm sure he'll provide, that gets everyone out there. It's like my enemy's enemy. It's Marjorie Taylor
Yeah.
Greene as the
Yeah.
voice of the sisterhood. I
Isn't that
think,
amazing?
it's, you
Isn't that
go,
amazing?
what?
That is so
My brain
amazing.
is exploding.
I
So
know.
that's what needs to happen. And it almost can't not happen, to use a double negative, and just because he can't keep all the balls in the air even as well as he used to.
Yes.
So he used to be able to make one outrageous statement, then do another outrageous thing over there, and we were left ping-ponging. You know, whereas now it's like, but you only said yesterday you were doing this, and now it's he's being exposed in real time
He is. He is. And, the
for
thing is,
this stuff.
the rapid fire response of multiple outlets making videos of what he's saying and pushing it out there. For example, he said when he heard RFK with his anti vax insanity, he first made a statement saying, no, no, vaccines are actually good. People should take vaccines. He himself, for sure, took the vaccine. We know that he did because he
Oh,
had
absolutely.
promoted. Right. So, but then he let the MAGA the MAGA, mob tell him the value of vaccines, meaning they don't like it. So then he went along with that. But he made these statements about no, people should take vaccines. They're good for you. But the very next day, he said, no, no. Well, RFK is actually a really good person, and he's trying to solve the problem of autism, and vaccines may have a connection to autism. So completely incoherent. That's going to get pushed out. I mean, I would be asking, like, which is it? Do you like them or do you not like them? Do you want them stopped or do you want them kept?
Uh,
Because his people, especially, his people are against the vaccines, even if 77% of the country apparently is for accessibility
yes,
to
but that's
vaccines.
a terrible percentage
Oh,
in a developed country. You
brutal.
absolutely I get a feeling on an intuitive level, TB is going to make a comeback.
TB,
TB,
tuberculosis. Oh my God.
tuberculosis.
Wow.
I don't know why, but just lately, I literally see the letters TB, TB. Now, we know
Wow.
there was a measles outbreak and stuff, and I'm not saying this is in lieu of a measles outbreak or anything else. What I am saying is, mark my words, TB. And it's an awful, awful illness, you know.
Oh no, I mean, well, TB, polio. I mean, are you kidding? I mean,
Yeah.
it's and you can't. And if you are opposed to something, that is your opinion. But to then say your limited opinion or a small group should have power over the consensus, someone on my channel made that point. Apparently, they thought they were being smart, saying, "Well, consensus has nothing to do with scientific opinion." Yes, it does. The whole point to scientific consensus
Yes. Is
is the
there is
group
a
of scientists
scientific
that
consensus?
that is
That's
what that
right.
is. Like the majority of scientists believe this, but you want to bring in 10 cranks or 7 cranks or 100 cranks. I don't know how many they are, but it's a
Mm,
very small number of these scientists that say the opposite. That's not the way we should operate. It's a really bad idea, right? But that's what we're in
yes.
right now, where they
Exactly. So, as a health sociologist, we talk about health by zip code, if you like.
mm,
There are factors of gender, ethnicity, social class, etc., that
mm,
predictably can outline not only are you more likely to get a particular illness, it's less likely to be treated in a timely manner, and the outcome is inevitably worse in these things. So,
mhm.
if you're middle class and informed and eat well and so forth, you might choose for your own reasons not to vaccinate or something. So, for example, I'm offered the free flu vaccine every year as a senior citizen in Australia. Now, I elect not to have the flu vaccine because of various reasons related to being middle class and understanding the risk, but also that I haven't had the flu, touch wood, but I would also know how to deal with it instantly should I have it. However, someone else who's working class or underclass who's already obese, has three pre-existing conditions, including respiratory problems and so
Right.
forth, absolutely should have the flu vaccine
Correct.
in
Yeah.
order not to die next winter. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
I think we need to be able to separate um, this issue in a more informed way, whereas MAGA just rejects its, deep state and vaccines and bad science. Which reminds me, there's now a phenomenon called science asylum. So these are scientists and researchers from America who can say, we can't work here anymore. And they're applying to Australia, UK, Canada, everywhere they can for science asylum.
Yeah. It's incredibly sad. I mean, look, the I just saw this thing where RFK said that if you take the flu vaccine, you will give the flu to people. That's what he said.
Now,
I mean, like
it's
Jesus,
insane.
honestly, it's insane. The man is a crank. Okay. And by the way, I want to repeat
Total
that he's a
crank.
total crank. And I know that there are a few people that I've seen comments of challenging me on that because he's something about how he's correct about mRNA vaccines. No, he is not correct about mRNA.
No.
He's
And
mistaken.
why you're getting these comments probably, and this happened, it's been happening for 20 years, but it accelerated around COVID,
Yes.
which is um, there are, if you look at any vaccine, right, there are risks in its development stage and but the autism link has been debunked for 20
Exactly.
years. So what happened was not lefty, alternative people met the far right. No one can tell me what to do. I
Hmm.
don't know. And
Right.
they've now been in bed, so
Right.
to speak,
Right.
this weird alliance since before COVID of
Yeah.
radical alternatives meet MAGA on these health issues. And it makes me want to pull my hair out as a health sociologist.
I know. It's incredibly frustrating. I mean, if you think about all the pharmaceuticals, vaccines included, they all have side effects. They run ads on TV constantly telling you this thing is going to help you and this and this and this other way. But you could get this list of things, including coma and death. They're often in there. They usually list them early because apparently you never want to say that at the end. It's the last thing you leave the person with. Should be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
stomach ache, right? But the point is, everything has some problem associated with it. And there will be a number with vaccines for sure that will be bad for some people, but we're talking about the populace. We're talking about the broader number. You have to always keep that in mind. It's the
Of
entire group.
saving people's lives.
Yes,
And
exactly.
when I was a kid, we had an institution, just 300 yards from my house. And it was in those days, early 60s, 50s, 60s, called the Crippled Children's Home. That was the language at the time.
Right.
Now, all those kids had severe polio. So they came from all over the state, and I come from a huge state,
Mm.
to that institution when they were too, um, it was impossible for their families to care for them anymore, and their health was so compromised and stuff. So that was seared into my childhood brain, was these hundreds of little kids having to wear those awful iron calipers on their legs. And then when it got bad, they ended up in what was called an iron lung, um, that kept the oxygen flowing until they prematurely died. So that was very real to me. So when the polio vaccine came, um, our parents didn't, were so grateful that this vaccine was here. So we can remember. Whereas now, younger parents and stuff, they don't know what polio does.
No,
No,
no, no.
it's not real to them. And if polio comes back, it's really serious for the implications,
Well,
particularly in a wretched healthcare system like the
I
US.
mean, any disease that was previously eradicated, if it resurfaces, it's a major scandal. And this is the thing again that it is very difficult to keep it out of the news, and it's gonna create a huge problem if that happens. You can try to
Yes,
make it
and I
go away,
think
but good luck.
and what you as astrologers have been saying too, it it's still building.
Oh
This
yeah, no, it's
stuff
still
is
building,
still building.
still building. Yeah,
And we need all these quite dreadful scenarios, but we need them all to actually shake the nation awake.
yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a sad situation. Although, you always have to compare and contrast. Because if you say, well, this is really bad, okay, but if you know you're in a zone like we're in a zone very similar to the Second World War and the time of the American Civil War. At least it's not an open hot war on the streets. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult, and we have to navigate it, and we have to get to the other side. And we got to the other side before, and we can do it again. I
Yes,
firmly believe that.
and the upside of all this, and what I'd like viewers to take away in the upside, is by it unfolding the way it inevitably will, much more likely to get a radical, in a good way,
Hmm.
replacement to wake
Correct.
people up, not this much, not that much, to go, okay, let's look at wealth inequality across the board, which would have never happened before under Dems in, Republicans in, inch by inch doing the dance. It
Yeah.
needs to radically be reconfigured, and that's what revolutions do. So
Correct.
people in
Yeah.
France didn't wake up one morning going, liberty, equality, fraternity. No, it
No.
was ugly.
That's right.
But you
That's right. And
need these peak times in history to get to the more positive.
correct.
And I really
100%.
believe that.
It's true. And there is one really, really strong astrology correlation, which now that Trump got elected makes it more possible for what you said to happen. In other words, we had to
Mm.
go through this. And that is that the Uranus return for the US is concurrent with the
Ah,
28 election. That planet abhors fascism, abhors
yes,
anything where people try to enslave people. And so it's a revolutionary planet for the people. And it's so much better to be on the losing side and bring the
yes,
energy into there.
yes,
If you were
because
running the show, it could be pulled against you, you know. And if now Kamala Harris had won, she'd be facing that planet in
yes,
2028.
yes.
So from that vantage point, you know, even though it's a very unhappy situation we're moving through,
Mm.
it's a positive, yes, going into
And
2028.
again, we need to remind people of our perceptions of time. So, on a daily basis, it feels agonizing for us since 2016. It's
15,
been,
15.
oh, but history will look back and go, oh, that 20 years when America lost the plot and this was happening and that was happening. And now, hopefully, there's a brighter, fairer, more grown up America.
Correct. And I mean, don't exaggerate. It wasn't
It'll
20.
seem like
It,
that.
it's not 20. I would say my feeling is they'll count it as 12, which is a Jupiter cycle. This guy is really connected to Jupiter. He came in and
Oh, I love that
created,
calculation better, but I was just
yeah.
throwing it out there
Yeah,
in the
because like,
sense of it will seem quick.
yeah, it'll seem quick. I mean, this is the thing when you're looking at history, you say, oh, that was the 1920s, that was the whatever. If you were there, you would have been agonizing day to day. Imagine living
Yes.
if you're in the Roosevelt period, what he had to go through,
Yeah.
to get the country out of that horrible depression. So we're in it now, and it's difficult, yes, but it could always be worse, definitely. I mean, so I'm hoping
Absolutely.
against hope that it doesn't turn into a hot war situation.
Yes. And I think, I hope I'm right about this. I think there was possibly more risk of a hot war before. This is why the tariffs are important. Right?
Mhm.
If Trump didn't have his fixation on tariffs, if he was just doing this stuff and the economy was purring along, I'd be much more worried.
Really? Why? Because
Yeah,
they're more likely to.
because it would provide a bolstering for MAGA to support their guy. And so they would back this endless authoritarianism that would creep, I think, in a very
Oh, no,
destructive
yeah,
way. Do you
yeah,
see
yeah,
what I
yeah. No,
mean?
yeah, no,
Whereas
totally true.
because of the tariffs, it's what I was saying earlier, it's going to put
Yeah.
everyone offside,
Oh, no, for sure. I
which
mean,
is going to put a stop to these military fantasies. You know,
exactly. You're
that's how I
100% right.
hope it works.
I think you're totally right because I've actually said this myself in a few videos that he's actually a total numbskull. All he had to do was move into the presidency and do all his criming, but don't
That's
touch
what
the
I mean.
economy. Just don't
Yeah,
touch the economy because as soon as you do that, but he's got this belief in his mind
yeah,
since whenever he's convinced that this is the way to do things. He just doesn't, he's not good at math. He's just not good at math because
no,
any person would tell him, look, in the short term, and politics is very short term, you cannot accomplish this right away. And by the way, even if you extended it, his theory is that you can bring back manufacturing. That is not going to happen. That takes
no, it can't
forever.
happen and it won't happen.
No.
And for a range of reasons.
Yes.
One is you cannot build a factory, regardless of what you're intending to manufacture, regardless of that. You cannot build it without being part of the global supply chain that is now tariffed to the eyeballs. So the
Yeah.
cost of building a factory in Milwaukee 3 years ago compared with now is unreachable. One.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second thing is the rest of the world are not going to invest in the US.
Right.
Right, on principle, they're not. So the EU is now playing his game, and they just now go, give us a number. It'll just put him off till after lunch. Oh, 600 billion. We'll invest 600. It's just a number. They have no intention of doing that. They might build a toy factory just to, take the photos. They're playing his game now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I mean it's just horrible, horrible leadership. But again, again, people have to see that there is some virtue to being an expert in a field. There is virtue in that. I know
It's
there are
so
problems.
important, Andre. And I'm
Yeah.
angry about this in Australia too, because we used to, as most first world countries did, you had think tanks on
Mhm.
issues, and they were the best and the brightest. If the issue was, should this vaccine be mandated or something, people would discuss, or laws to be changed, or what's happening. Now we haven't got that, and they were always bipartisan
Mhm.
things. So the big changes that made the the wealthy countries wealthy, they had certain things in common, and it was being bipartisan on energy. We need a 20, 30-year plan on energy. That didn't matter who got elected, the plan
Mhm.
was moving forward, right? On defense and on education. Those things had to keep going.
Right.
We did away with that with neoliberalism in the 90s, and we are all paying the price for doing away with experts.
Yeah, 100%, 100% true. That's exactly it. But until people realize it, part of the thing I have to blame your guy, Murdoch, because what he did is
Totally.
unforgivable. When he formed Fox News, he created an amplification, a megaphone. So Trump will spout his idiocies, he'll say stupid things, and then they parrot. They make them real,
And
and they
it works.
and it works. And this is really a huge problem because until somehow, and maybe because his children apparently are not in agreement, and that will take the whole
Oh,
enterprise down.
Lachlan is because he wants to, he's seeking daddy's approval, which he will never get. So the four other kids are normal, educated, who
Yeah.
understand about climate change and the hideousness of Fox News, but Lachlan's still the one.
Yes, but unfortunately, the will is ironclad. He's already tried to take it apart, and the court said no. So it's looking like he won't
Yeah,
be able
I'm
to give it to
pleased about
Lachlan.
that, but it's like it's a what Murdoch has done better than anyone else in the world
Yeah, I know
is capture
that
that
Australian
space
SOB.
from the old guard. So when I saw him first time round in the UK, it was still tabloid newspapers, right?
Mhm.
And he very carefully bought the newspaper that the working class read. So you have women's breasts on the front, you have sport on the back, right? And you run down the working class in the middle and you dismember unions and all of that, right? That was his formula then, right?
Mm.
And he put Thatcher in, and all of that. Broke the miners. Fox was new and fresh and cable television. Have you got cable television? No, but I want to get. So he caught
Mm.
that next wave and owned it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we're probably in a third cycle. So whether the sun could conquer it in the same way, I don't know. You see what I mean?
Well,
It's
if
harder and harder to get audience share now.
if the son, if the children agree to let him do it, because if his siblings disagree, then Fox will get taken down because by the law he
Yeah, I'm
cannot he
still not
cannot.
confident
You're
in
not
that.
confident?
I wish.
Well,
I
we'll have to see.
wish. But I
We'll have
think
to see.
it's
Yeah.
going to be. one of those family legal cases. I don't think it's resolved. So the ironclad will was found to be ironclad. However, I think he'll keep it in legal play, you know, for another decade or something.
Well, he won't be
We'll
alive for
see.
another decade. He's not going to be alive for another decade.
That's what I mean. In Rupert's 93. Um, so I think it's going to see him out and then some. Because if Lachlan, what they've all learned from Trump. This is what we're up against, Andre. Court ruling, ignore it.
Yeah.
Just ignore it.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Fine him billions of dollars? Yeah, here you go.
That's being tested too, though. You saw that the court agreed with the $83 million to E. Jean Carroll. How long can he delay the payment on that? He can keep
Oh,
delaying, but at some point he's going to have to pay.
no, well, see, maybe that's where we differ. I don't think he does because the problem is there's no follow-up for not complying.
For
What are
now,
they going to do? They're going to add interest to it. They're just going to add zeros to it. And we're going to sit here in 2 years' time going, oh, he now owes her $160 billion. Doesn't mean he's going to pay it.
yeah,
This
well, yeah,
is the
yeah,
fundamental problem of a two-tiered court system where rich men don't go to jail. So every generation you have a Bernie Madoff and Martha Stewart just to pretend the system's still working, but everyone else just skates.
yeah. No, I mean, as long as he's president, he has too much power to be forced into anything. But everything has a timeline. Things change, and you might find
Yeah, I
yourself
think
on the wrong
this is
side of it.
going to shift when it's not him,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
Vance is going to try all the same dance moves, right?
Mhm.
But something's going to give, I think, in that context legally.
Yeah. No, and by the way, Trump's legal astrological situation in 26, 27, and 28. No, lots and lots and lots of stop, can't do it, negative rulings. Now, I don't know what they are yet. I just know that that's where the planet is. So that's a big
Yeah,
problem.
and another thing that we can
Big
be
problem.
optimistic about is okay, the problem with the Supreme Court, like the right, and everyone's very reluctant to just expand the numbers for obvious reasons, right?
Hmm.
But Sheldon Whitehouse, who's done the homework over years, he's been on this investigative thing for 5 or 6 years to corrupt. I mean, literally corrupt, taking money for things, Clarence Thomas, and I think it's Alito. Whatever. Point is, that file's ready.
Hmm.
They can be impeached.
Hmm.
So, should there be a blue wave, the
Hmm.
next thing, they need the Senate as well, obviously. It's not I think it might have happened once before, or if not the first time, but it can be done. It's not as though you have to start from day one and go, I heard that Clarence Thomas got paid this for his nephew or something. All that work's been done.
It's true, but there I have to disagree with you a little bit in that if you do that, the Senate will never convict the guy. Never, because you need
Well,
67
that's what I
votes.
mean. I prefaced it by saying you would have to have the Senate. And I
Yeah.
don't know that the Dems have the cojones to do it. That's another conversation. But it could be done in a way that couldn't now, is my point.
Oh, no, yeah. They can impeach, but conviction is very difficult because to convict, you need all the Dems, however many there are, plus enough Republicans to reach two-thirds of the number. And that's just not going to happen because what they'll do, they'll protect their own, and even if it's Thomas and Alito, who they shouldn't be protecting, but they'll protect them because they don't
No,
want
I
them.
totally take your point.
Yeah.
I
So
totally take your point.
it's a very tough.
However, if the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court at the end of the day has given license to this folly with the immunity decision,
Yes.
right?
True.
That underlies everything else, right?
Hmm.
That decision.
Mhm.
Now, the Dems should be lobbying day and night, making it crystal clear, reverse the immunity, reverse the immunity. I don't think they've even spoken about it. Anyway, my point is this. As it all crumbles, and it's the economy that's going to bring the Republicans to heel, not ideology, right?
Sure.
Ideologically,
100%.
they'll go to their graves defending this stuff.
Sure.
However, if they're all broke and they've got their constituents with the flatbed trucks circling their houses every night going, bring him out, they might have another point of view.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's totally true. Yeah, that's 100% true.
I'm just letting it out there.
No, I mean, when you're the thing is when you're in a warlike scenario like we are, because we have these two intensely oppositional sides, who knows how it's going to shake out? But you're totally right that the economic numbers are the key thing. They're the absolute, top of the list that causes everything else to potentially realign itself. Yes,
Yeah.
no
And
question.
they've got to bite, which I'm confident they will do. But it's not about which economic school you follow, that doing this could be good for this and that. No, just I can't buy groceries. And now there is no SNAP program. And now this is, it's got to be the perfect storm, which it's setting up to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's a great message. All you have to say is, "Oh, you don't have any money." He gave it to the rich people. That's what he did. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah,
obvious.
exactly.
Your
Keep it
money.
simple. All jokes aside, keep it
Yeah,
simple. Yeah, he gave
he
all that
took your
away to the
money.
rich guys.
He gave it to and by the way, money that doesn't really make that much difference to them. It makes a big difference to you, not to
Oh,
them. I mean, you give a
that's the
billionaire
key.
$200,000, big deal. But for an ordinary person, it's lethal. It's totally lethal. It puts them in a really bad position. So, conduct yourself accordingly. That's the bottom line.
Yes,
And so
you
the
want to
messaging
vote
is
for the
there.
guy with the gold toilet? Up to
Yeah,
you, pet.
I know.
I don't
Exactly.
get it, but there we go. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what we're in. All
that's what
right.
we're
Well,
in.
it's been fascinating as always. And we should do this more often because things are happening so quickly. Maybe we'd have
I
some insight
know.
on the spot or something. How about in October sometime, maybe? Think you
Sure,
might
let's
yeah.
nail a date in October.
I'd say the middle or so would be
Yeah,
we're in
sure.
there because around that time is also when I think the Supreme Court start their although like you said you did say that they would probably delay, but that is when they're and when is the government shutdown expected? Is that this month or next month if it happens?
I don't know the actual date, but it's not far away. I think it's soon. I think it's October, isn't it? I have to look
Yeah.
that up, but it's not far away.
Yeah, so we'd have something to talk about. All right. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
So I'd encourage you, if you could have a look at the chart and you might make a video or something on, be interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. As soon as I get a sense for charts, I need some kind of a tangible date they're shooting for.
Yeah,
See what
what's an
the
accessible date for that? You
yeah.
could just work on the planetary for whatever date it is, just see what aspects are around for that
Mhm.
first vote.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
love to know your take on it.
Yeah, the astrology can be fascinating. Yesterday, I already said this in another video, but I was able to tell who was going to win the tennis. I looked at the two
Oh,
charts.
that's a buzz because we
I
do
looked at
all this full-on work and I'm a sports pig.
No, I saw the two charts and I said to one of my astrologer sisters, Alcaraz is going to win this. Look at these charts. And she said, yeah. She said, because the eclipse was so bad for Sinner and so
Isn't
good for
it? Oh,
Alcaraz. It
that's
was so clear. It was
hilarious.
so clear. And yet the experts and the AI were saying that Sinner was going to win. So
Oh,
that,
I
that was
love
very,
that, Andre. That's a triumph.
that was very interesting. All right.
You
Again, it was a
must be happy
pleasure.
with Alcaraz.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I definitely had a dog in the race. I wanted him to win, but I
Yeah.
thought, I mean, I said to my sister, what
But
do you
you're a
think?
grown
Yeah.
up. If it had looked like
Oh
Sinner,
yeah,
that
yeah,
would have
yeah.
been that.
Yeah. I mean, they're very close. It's not like it was a huge upset, but it was a bit surprising how it turned
Yeah,
out
yeah.
because
I mean,
the,
he's
the
only
momentum.
22. He's
Yeah,
got a lot of Grand Slams ahead of him.
I would say so. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So,
And that's the other reason we need immigration. If you look at Australia's tennis players too, we've got Dimanoor coming through, Popperin, Russian immigrant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need immigration.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the world is becoming more global. It's you see now
Yeah,
how
and let's stop
yeah,
pretending. I don't know why they want to just put the genie back in the bottle. Like,
it's how it is.
no.
I mean, if you the diversity, you see this in in soccer, which is the world sport, nations now that have such a cross section of players that make their
Yes,
lineup
gone are
completely
the,
different than it used to be.
yeah, yeah.
Back in the
So
60s,
we have to
70s.
talk about that next time too. What's going to happen with the World Cup 2026?
That's because it's here. It's in the US. I know.
I know, we have to talk
Very,
about that.
very interesting. All right, we'll say goodbye to everyone for now. Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
everybody for sticking in to the end.